The next time I saw my ex-wife, she wasn't the woman I once knew. She had become a nation's most adored A-list star, the kind of woman the world looked up to. And me? I was still stuck in a small production company, wasting my days behind the scenes. On screen, she and her first love were a golden couple, envied, worshipped, loved by millions. And after being pushed aside, humiliated one too many times, I finally chose divorce. Tonight, after wrapping a shoot, the producer dragged the whole crew to celebrate at a nightclub. I was caught between two women, drowning in drinks and fake laughter, until the door burst open. My ex-wife stormed in like she owned the place, grabbed me by the collar, and snapped, "You've got guts now, huh? Sneaking around behind my back? Want me to skin you alive?" Her words burned through me, and for the first time, I didn't cave. I pushed her away. "What I do is none of your business." The room went silent. Whispers started. Everyone looked at me like I had just uncovered a scandal. "Maybe she's into you, Leo. She always drags you into her shoots, doesn't she? Always gives you things." I met her eyes, cold as ice. "Stop it. She's with Henry. They're getting married. Again." I left before the chatter swallowed me whole. That perfect face of hers, once the center of my world, meant nothing now. The man who used to bend over backward for her was long gone. We'd been secretly married for 7 years. 7 years that crumbled under the weight of the so-called 7-year itch. And the breaking point? Our 3rd wedding anniversary. That night, instead of being home, she was hosting a live-stream gala. The stage glittered with stars. The cameras caught every move, and the whole country watched as she danced with Henry. The two of them, cheek to cheek, looked like soulmates. Fans screamed for them to be together. Comment sections flooded with, "You've made me believe in love again." And while the world cheered, I was at home, burning with fever, rocking our 3-year-old daughter to sleep. My reality couldn't compete with their fairy tale. I tried to pretend it didn't hurt, but when my daughter pressed a pill into my hand and whispered, "Daddy, take this. The fever will go away," my heart broke. Then she ran to the door. "Mommy's back." But it wasn't. And when she came back with her head down, asking if Mommy didn't come home because she was naughty, it was like being stabbed straight through the chest. I pulled her close. I couldn't tell her the truth, that her mother never wanted her, that Zoe had once begged for an abortion, that she never once held her, never once saw her as her own. My daughter wasn't a gift to her. She was a burden. So I lied. "Mommy's just busy, but Daddy's here. Always." She smiled through her tears and held out her pinky. "We're the glue squad. You go, I go." That night, I knew it was time. We couldn't keep living in someone else's shadow. So I called Zoe. Her ringtone, mocking cruel, played on loop until the tears finally came. And when she picked up, her voice was as cold as ever. "What is it?" I wanted to scream, to demand an explanation. But all I said was, "What are you doing?" The answer was the same as always. Working. And in the background, Henry's laughter echoed like a blade twisting deeper. I swallowed my pride. "Zoe, let's divorce. Tomorrow, 9 a.m., Civil Affairs Bureau." She paused, irritated. "Is this supposed to be funny?" "No. I'll bring a blank divorce agreement. You can write whatever you want. I only want custody of our daughter." And for the first time, I hung up on her. The night air stung my cheeks, sweeping away the last of my tears. I turned back inside, packed my things, and knew, other than my little girl, I had nothing left to take. The rest, I left for the wind. As I packed, I realized some things were harder to look at than others. Everywhere I turned, the house was littered with reminders of how much I once loved her. Matching family outfits, couples' clothes, engraved watches, mugs for two, most of them untouched, because she never cared enough to use them. That's the thing about love. You can't fake it. When someone loves you, you feel it. And when they don't, well, I must have been blind all these years. In our only photo together, the truth was right there. She looked distant, cold. I was grinning like a fool, clinging to something that wasn't real. It was like pressing a warm face against a block of ice. Painful, one-sided, pathetic. But the next morning, when I woke up, I felt lighter than I had in years. This was what letting go felt like. Not defeat, salvation. After dropping my daughter off at kindergarten, I went straight to the Civil Affairs Bureau. I was ready. But while waiting for Zoe, I saw Henry's new post. A glossy display of champagne, flowers, intertwined hands, and a kiss mark that screamed possession. The caption, "Loving you means giving you the whole world." I read it twice, then put my phone away. To my surprise, there was no rage left in me, only peace. The only thing that hurt was knowing how many years I'd wasted loving her. Henry even had the audacity to forward the post to me privately, like he wanted to make sure I didn't miss his happiness. But Zoe never showed. Not after 1 hour. Not after 5. I sat there like a fool until the bureau closed, redialing a number that never picked up. The guard tried to console me. Maybe she doesn't want a divorce. Go home. Try to work it out. I shook my head. She doesn't even come home. Who exactly am I supposed to work it out with? He looked at me with pity, pressed a divorce brochure into my hand, and sent me on my way. That night, after picking up my daughter and moving into my small apartment, she beamed. "Daddy, this feels more like home." She was right. A home doesn't have to be big. Love makes a home. Not marble floors, not chandeliers. Just love. Later, while I was tucking her in with a bedtime story, Zoe finally called. Her voice was sharp, impatient. "Why aren't you two home yet?" "Home." She didn't even notice we'd left. Before I could answer, she said, "I brought you a gift. Come back quick." I cut her off. "Too busy to get divorced, huh?" "Divorce? What are you talking about?" "I waited all day at the bureau. If you don't show up next time, I'll file a lawsuit." "Leo, what's gotten into you?" "Things are fine." I laughed bitterly. "Fine? You live-streamed your love life to the world. Might as well make it official." And I hung up. Again. And God, it felt good. But just as I was packing my daughter's little school bag for the next day, the doorbell rang. Late at night, I opened the door and there she was, Zoe, stunning as ever in a long dress, hair cascading in waves, her beauty almost unreal. But her eyes, cold, sharp, unyielding, gave her away. Once, I would have crumbled under that glare. She was my Empress Dowager, and I was her loyal servant. Whatever she said, I obeyed. But love had stripped me blind. And now that illusion was gone. She was just a woman, ordinary. Turns out being love-brained is a sickness. And I was finally cured. She walked in, her perfume thick in the air, but it wasn't hers. No, this was Henry sent clinging to her like a brand. If I asked, she'd just say I was imagining things. She always did. Then, with her usual arrogance, she tossed a bank card at me. Go buy yourself a wedding anniversary gift. That was her way of apologizing. Not words, not effort, just money. As if I were some kept man she could buy off. I pushed it back. Instead, I handed her the divorce papers. I don't want your money. I only want custody of our daughter. She threw the pen aside, her voice sharp. All this fuss just because I helped Henry plan a party? Damn right as a fuss. My voice rose before I could stop it. Why are you acting like this? What does our divorce have to do with you parading him around? She froze, staring at me like I'd grown another head, like she couldn't believe I dared to talk back. You're just jealous of Henry. You watched the live stream, didn't you? I have a clear conscience. That's why I streamed it. And in that moment, I finally saw her for who she truly was. When she snapped at me, accusing me of forcing myself into circles I didn't belong to, I didn't even flinch. I just slid the pen back across the table. There's no money to fight over. Just sign it, Zoe. Let's be done. The silence between us was heavy. Finally, she broke it with that icy tone of hers. Fine. I should have told you about helping Henry yesterday. This Saturday, invite him to dinner at that private kitchen in the East District. No spicy food. You make the reservation. And with that, she walked out. No apology. No kindness. Not even a glance back. I stood there stunned, bitter laughter bubbling in my chest. So this was what simping bought me. Humiliation, nothing else. That night, I didn't wait for her excuses anymore. I filed the divorce online. At least modern technology makes walking away less twisted. All I had to do now was wait for the court to make it official. In the days that followed, I rebuilt life piece by piece. Changed the locks, replaced the entire door with a high-security one. At 5 o'clock, I was cooking a healthy dinner for my little girl, when Zoe's calls lit up my phone again and again. I put it on silent, stirred the pot, and smiled at the irony. Now she was the one who couldn't reach me. After dinner, I finally picked up. Her voice exploded through the speaker. "Leonardo, where the hell are you?" "At home." "Why didn't you reserve the restaurant? Are you seriously this unreliable?" "Whatever, just get over here. Don't make us wait, or you'll regret it." She hung up, and I almost laughed. Let's see who really ends up regretting this. Before I left, I asked my daughter if she'd be sad without her mom. A child shouldn't have to grow up without that love. But she just giggled, wise beyond her years. "I don't need a mommy. I just need you, Daddy. You're the one who couldn't let her go. We have to be strong now. From now on, we only love people who love us." My heart clenched. My little girl understood life better than I did. That night, I walked into the private dining room Zoe had insisted on. Laughter and flirtation filled the air, but the moment they saw me, the room froze. Henry and Zoe, locked in a cross-cup toast, glowing like conjoined twins. Her smile, brighter than anything she ever gave me. Rita, her so-called best friend, jumped up, calling for an extra set of utensils. "Oh, wow, Leo. Didn't think you'd actually show. Sorry for the oversight." Her tone made me sound like an unwanted extra in their play. The looks on their faces confirmed it. I sat down calm. Not a single dish had chili, just like Zoe asked. My chest tightened. Rita kept the room buzzing, acting as though I wasn't even there. And when everyone was full, she turned her smile on me. "Leo, you must have saved the universe in a past life. How else could someone like you land our stunning Zoe?" The crowd joined in, sneering. "Exactly. She's a goddess. You're lucky she even married you. Should have worshipped her while you had the chance." Laughter, mockery, one after another, they piled it on. And then Henry grabbed Zoe's hand, looked at me, and said coldly, "Zoe is the love of my life. I hope you never make her cry again." "Yeah," Rita jumped in. "They were childhood sweethearts. If you hadn't butted in, they'd have been married long ago." As if they forgot that when Zoe's family went bankrupt, Henry's mother had humiliated her and forced them apart. Henry sighed dramatically. "It was my fault. I shouldn't have listened to my mom. I left you back then, Zoe. I'm sorry." Her eyes welled up instantly, staring at him with the kind of affection I had begged for years in vain. Then Henry turned to me. "If you ever hurt her again, I'll beat you so badly you won't even know where your teeth landed." I stood, grabbed his collar, shoved my face inches from his. "Do it. Beat me. Right now." In his panic to push me away, he slammed himself against the table's edge. Zoe rushed to his side, glaring at me like I was a villain. "Leonardo, are you insane? Apologize to Henry right now." But Henry straightened up with that smug smirk plastered on his face. "So this is the real you. Angry. Unstable. No wonder Zoe left. Don't blame me for stealing her. You don't deserve her." I looked at him, then at Zoe. My voice was calm. "Steal? You don't need to steal her. She's already yours." I pulled out the divorce agreement, dropped it onto the table, and pushed it toward them. "Sign it. Don't let your wedding night get delayed." A glass of red wine splashed across my face. Zoe's hand trembled with rage. "Leonardo, shut your filthy mouth." Henry wrapped his arm around her, playing the saint again. "Don't misunderstand. We've never crossed a line. She's my goddess. Too sacred to be touched." That was his game, always making me look like the monster while he wore the halo. I wiped the wine from my face, eyes fixed on him. "Then have your goddess sign the damn papers. Take her home. Worship her. I can't afford it anymore. My words only made Zoe's expression harden, her voice sharp and biting. Henry and I are just friends. Pure friendship. It's not as dirty as you imagine. Can you stop being so disgusting? You embarrass me. Apologize to Henry, now, or I'll never forgive you. I laughed, not out of humor but disbelief. This woman before me, she wasn't the same person I once loved. Zoe, I said, steady and cold, what right do you have to order me around? You're my ex-wife. The room went silent. Every face turned, hanging on the tension. Henry's eyes lit with triumph, a smug grin stretching across his lips. Leonardo, is this still about that party Zoe threw for me? His tone was deliberate, a knife twisting. If that's what this is about, then fine. I apologize. Zoe only wanted to help me make new connections. A win-win. It just slipped her mind that it was your wedding anniversary that day. Zoe sat there, pretending to be the victim, her rage barely hidden. Leonardo, stop already. You keep waving divorce around like it's some kind of threat. Henry apologized. Why are you still being so ungrateful? The voices of her friends followed one after another, sneering in unison. Yeah, can't even take a joke. People like you just don't understand. Not our circle. No perspective. Their words piled on like stones, each one trying to bury me alive. I reached into my bag, pulled out the divorce papers, and threw them onto the table. Sign them, I said, and turned to leave. Leonardo, stop right there. Zoe's voice cut through the air like glass shattering. You weren't even home for our 3rd anniversary. What right do you have to judge me? All you ever want is money. Haven't I given you enough over the years? Her words hit me harder than I expected. My chest tightened, anger boiling inside. Behind me, the laughter of her friends spread like wildfire. And then Henry stepped forward, pulling out a check. With a smirk, he waved it at me. If money fixes it, then it's not a problem. Write in whatever number you want. Just apologize to Zoe. I turned and stared at them. These two people, this absurd scene. Their logic was twisted beyond comprehension. Save your money, I said quietly. Every word laced with contempt. Burn it as spirit cash yourselves. At least then you won't show up broke in hell. Without another glance, I walked out into the biting northern wind. And in that cold, I kept asking myself, why? Why drag it out? If Zoe wanted Henry so badly, all it took was a signature. A clean break. She'd get the man she always wanted, and I'd finally be free. But no, she wanted the show. She wanted to humiliate me in front of her friends, to make Henry look like the hero, to let the world cheer for the goddess who finally escaped the cow dung. I had actually believed she'd be happy to sign the papers tonight, that she'd want to step into the open with him. But instead, she made me her spectacle. Hours later, sitting alone in my car, my phone buzzed again. More photos from Henry. Pictures of him and Zoe, smiling, toasting, holding hands, wrapped up in each other like the perfect couple. He looked down at her as though she were some rare treasure. And beneath the photos, his message. If you won't cherish her, let go, so I can love her. I stared at the screen, let out a bitter laugh. So this is what it looks like when you don't even bother hiding anymore. The next month felt like a trial of its own. I went to court again and again with my daughter, filing every document, answering every question. And then, finally, the decree was issued. The divorce was official. From that moment on, we were free. No more waiting every night for a door that never opened. No more walking on eggshells, terrified of her temper. No more suffocating despair as she flaunted her love for Henry like a prize. I felt light for the first time in years. So I took my daughter to celebrate. We went to the amusement park she'd always begged to visit. Ate junk food she was never allowed before. I even bought her that bright Barbie pink dress she claimed to hate, but her eyes sparkled when she put it on. That night, I carried her home, sleeping peacefully in my arms. But the moment I stepped off the elevator, I froze. Zoe. She was slumped at my door, drunk, her eyes glassy and pitiful. The second she saw me, she scrambled to her feet, smoothing her clothes, trying to look composed. What are you doing here? I asked coldly. She lowered her head, her voice soft, fragile. Why'd you change the locks without telling me the code? Excuse me? I shot back. This is my home. Not yours. Not anymore. Got it? Her wide, innocent eyes blinked at me, as if I were the one hurting her. I ignored her, carried my daughter inside, but she followed, a shadow trailing after me. I tucked my little girl into bed, brushed the hair from her forehead, kissed her good night. Zoe wandered in, staring at her like she'd seen a ghost. That was a daughter she'd never held, never kissed, never truly known. And now, in her sleep, the girl looked like peace itself. You shouldn't be here, I told Zoe, my voice low but sharp. If the paparazzi catch this, it won't look good for you. Her lips trembled, because I had thrown her own weapon back at her, the image she used to protect above everything else. She stormed out of the bedroom, furious, tossed a handful of credit cards onto the coffee table. What's this supposed to mean? I asked. You think I didn't earn that money myself? She snapped. I shook my head. Not at all. But I don't need it. I've got enough of my own. Keep it. Use it as your dowry. Her face twisted with rage. So now you're rejecting my money? What's next? Are you rejecting me too? I told you before, it was all hype between me and him. Why can't you believe me? Because we're already divorced, I said firmly. What you do now has nothing to do with me. Her voice cracked. I don't agree to this divorce. I almost laughed. Ridiculous. Divorce isn't a game, Zoe. It's not make-believe for kids. Whether you agree or not, the court already ruled. We're over. Legally. Completely. She stood there devastated, and then my phone buzzed again. I picked it up. Of course, it was Henry. More photos. Him and Zoe, cheek to cheek, cuddling, smiling like newlyweds. That's when I knew she wasn't here for love. She was here because she couldn't stand losing control. Zoe snatched the phone from my hands, scrolling furiously. The familiar photos Henry had sent flickered on the screen. Again and again she checked them, her eyes widening each time, until she could no longer deny it. The account was his. Her voice broke. So that's how it was. No wonder. Leo, Henry and I cut her off before she could finish. You two are fine. I believe you. No need to explain. And just like that, Zoe's carefully built mask cracked. She dropped her cold, untouchable act, and tears spilled down her face. Without another word, she bolted, her figure vanishing down the corridor. For a moment, instinct urged me to chase her, because despite everything, she was the only woman I had ever truly loved. She was a part of me, flesh torn from my heart. And even when it bleeds, the blood still flows. But now all I could do was wait. Wait for the day when the wound finally healed. For 2 full years, she was gone. The only trace of Zoe was her face on television. She never appeared before us again. Yet the child support never failed. Large sums, always on time. Time, it's a beautiful thing. It teaches you to forget the people you once thought you could never live without. Until the day everything changed. I went to pick up my daughter from kindergarten, only to find she wasn't there. Panic surged through me until I saw her. Zoe, I'm her mother too, she said softly. I have visitation rights. Frustration burned in my chest. She had acted on her own, without telling me. But what could I do? She was the biological mother. I watched her, awkwardly trying to connect with the little girl she had never raised. The clothes she bought were too small. The shoes didn't fit. My daughter's face lit up only when she saw me, running into my arms. Daddy, is she really my mom? She whispered. Zoe's eyes filled with tears, as if I had wounded her. I knelt and forced a smile. Kids forget things easily. Don't take it to heart. Honey, she's your mom. Don't you remember? But my daughter shook her head. No, Daddy, she's a movie star. Not Mommy. I saw her on TV. Zoe froze, humiliated. The whole world knew her name, except her own daughter. And deep in my gut, a bad feeling took root. Was she here to fight me for custody? For a split second, I had the insane urge to run away with my daughter, disappear forever. But then I let it go, let fate decide. The very next day at work, fate showed its hand. The famous actress Zoe had just signed a contract with our company. Her only condition? I had to be her personal assistant. I was stunned. What kind of twisted joke was this? Yesterday, she shows up at my daughter's school. Today, she's my boss? Tomorrow, would she bring Henry along to rub their love in my face? God help me. I didn't want to go blind from the sight of that circus. But for the money, I endured it. On her first day back, she behaved. No tricks, no drama. But after work, in the dim garage, she was waiting, blocking the door to my car. Come on, she smiled. Let's pick up our daughter from school. I stared at her, dressed like the perfect wife, the perfect mom. It felt surreal. No need. My mom's already picking her up. Piano class. Oh, well then dinner? My treat. I shook my head. No thanks. I've got a date. Her eyes flickered. With who? Do I know her? Take me with you. The way she looked at me, hopeful, almost pleading, shook something in me, but I slammed the car door and muttered, "It's a woman, not appropriate." And with that, I drove off, my chest a storm of emotions. If only she had chosen differently back then, maybe things would have been different. Maybe we could have had the family our daughter deserved. But now I was afraid of her, afraid of being pulled back into chaos. The tree wanted peace, but the wind never stopped. And if the wind refused to stop, it meant it had a plan. I once thought, if she ever looked back, I'd give in for our daughter, to give her a complete family. But the truth was clear now. Zoe would never belong to anyone. She only used men as stepping stones, climbing higher, seeing farther. And me? I was no longer worthy to be her stepping stone. That evening, I had dinner with a writer friend. Just work, just conversation. We laughed, clinked glasses, shared ideas. And then Zoe appeared. Elegant, dramatic. She snatched the glass from my hand. Drink less. Your stomach's not good. The writer smiled knowingly. Before I could explain, Zoe jumped in, taking control of the table. Don't misunderstand. I'm his wife. We have a daughter. She's 6. Sure, I've been busy. Missed some time. But I will always be the most important woman in both their lives. And I won't let anyone interfere in our relationship. So please keep your distance. The writer's smile widened. She arched an eyebrow, amused. Well, big celebrity. But aren't you with Henry? The whole internet knows. And you two are divorced. I've seen the certificate myself. So whatever's going on between me and Leo, it's really none of your business. Right, sweetheart? I sat there stunned, caught between embarrassment and disbelief. The writer leaned closer with a playful wink. Leo, you better sort out your personal affairs soon. My parents can't wait to meet you. And with that, she stood and left, gliding away like the breeze. Zoe's eyes were red, burning with jealousy. Who is she? You heard her, I said flatly. My girlfriend, the one I planned to marry. I turned to leave, but Zoe thought I was going after the writer. She grabbed me, throwing herself into my arms, refusing to let go. Leo, I came today to apologize. I was wrong. Let's start over. Let's get back together. But I didn't hesitate. I pushed her gently away, keeping my distance. What's wrong, Zoe? Didn't you already land yourself that perfect national husband? Her voice trembled. No, I was never really with Henry. It was all PR, just a screen couple. He used me to climb higher, to access my connections. He's nothing but a parasite. He even asked me to stop. I cut her off. I didn't want to hear another word. That part of my life no longer belonged to me. Her tears streamed down, her eyes cutting into me as though I was the one who betrayed her. Honey, you don't understand how brutal this industry is, she whispered. I'm exhausted. Please give me a chance to come home. Let's remarry. I want us again, you, me, and our daughter. I looked at her, fragile, delicate, like a porcelain flower trembling in the wind. But something inside me had changed. The urge to shield her, to hold her safe, was gone. Because once a heart is shattered beyond repair, the scars never fade. I gently uncurled her fingers from the hem of my coat, one by one, and walked away without looking back. On the way home, my phone buzzed. A message from the writer. She joked that if I ever needed a shield against Zoe's drama, she'd be there. Then she added how the scandal with Henry was everywhere, splashed across every headline, and how she felt bad for me. Finally, she teased, "I guess you're so used to flawless goddesses, you probably can't stand normal girls like me." I laughed under my breath, shaking my head. Maybe she was right. Maybe marriage, divorce, remarriage. It was all just a beautiful mistake. Maybe raising my daughter alone wasn't such a bad life after all. Time slipped by again. Another round of paychecks handed out. Another ordinary day, until the news broke. The company was heading to an island to shoot a film. And the lead actress? Zoe. And of course, she'd made a special request. I had to go with her. She kept me busy preparing endless sets of lingerie, provocative swimwear, outfits designed to turn heads. And on the very first night, she demanded I help her choose. Standing there, staring at her curves under the hotel lights, I felt my throat go dry. My instincts screamed to turn and run. But then her voice cut through me, cool and commanding, "I'll dock your pay." People say looking at a beautiful woman is a blessing, but that night it felt like torture. My ex-wife, icy, glamorous, unstoppable, slipping into one revealing outfit after another. Every glance, every curve, pulling at the edges of my sanity. Her eyes locked onto mine, sharp as hooks. Am I beautiful? Beautiful, I muttered. Devastatingly beautiful. Then came the dagger. "Let's remarry."